everyone, and welcome to ARTrageous 2020, a whole new affair, a fundraiser for the Breast Cancer Coalition. In fact, that's where we are coming from tonight. I'm Ginny Ryan, and I sure do miss seeing you in person. COVID may be keeping us apart, but it can't stop the celebration or commitment to this cause. So thank you for inviting us into your home. We are here to help the coalition raise critical funds, supporting programs, counseling, advocacy, and breast cancer research within the 10-county region of Rochester and beyond. We all know someone diagnosed with breast cancer. Tonight, we hope to raise your awareness about the work of the coalition and the services for those diagnosed with any number of gynecologic cancers. But first, let's hear from a few of our very special friends lending their support to the Breast Cancer Coalition.
We are honored to be here. Years ago, we started with the Pink Pizza Box campaign 1 month in October, and so many people came up to us and said, "Thank you so much. My mother had cancer, my sister, my daughter, and thank you so much for what you're doing." And we did a little homework and realized how big the Breast Cancer Coalition is in Rochester, New York, and how much it helps people. So we decided to do it all year long. And some of our franchisees were fighting on it, thinking that people aren't going to want to buy a pizza and a Pink Pizza Box, but it's taken off. It's who we are now. We're going to do this for many years to come, including next year. We're going to donate $42,000 and keep this tradition going. And I want to thank the entire staff at the Breast Cancer Coalition.
Thank you, Holly, and all your staff. You do amazing work.
Thank you so much.
I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2006. My daughter was 8 years old, and believe me, I was petrified. Soon after, I got a hold of the Breast Cancer Coalition because I wanted to be able to help spread the word. I'd been out there in the public quite a bit since I started my business, and I really felt that maybe if people knew I had breast cancer and had detected it early, that might help other women to go and get a mammogram and to find out, because obviously it certainly does not have to be a death sentence. Soon after that, Subaru started a program called Share the Love, and they would donate $250 to a dealer's charity of their choice. And I chose the Breast Cancer Coalition. So in the fall, we have this, and it's just been a wonderful thing. A lot of women, believe it or not, wait until the fall in order to buy a car because they want to support the charity. So it's really wonderful. We've been able to donate a ton of money, and I just couldn't be prouder about that.
Thank you, Sam, Linda, and Kitty. They are a few of the major supporters of the Breast Cancer Coalition. You'll be hearing from others. But perhaps most importantly, learn how you can be a supporter of the Breast Cancer Coalition too. Call 585-473-8177 right now, or text to give. You can also go online to bccr.org to donate.
We're delighted to be partnering with BCCR to improve the health of the community. Breast cancer touches all our lives, and it's such a privilege to have a group like BCCR supporting the community and those with breast cancer.
Now, let's step back in time and see how the Breast Cancer Coalition began.
I had this vision.
It was interesting. Not much was getting done at the time. There wasn't a board. There weren't any programs or anything of that nature, but it was a start.
The summer of 2000, they opened their first office, and it was at 200 Park Avenue, across from what was then Hogan's Hideaway, and they had a huge vision. They wanted to build an organization that had 4 pillars. They prioritized advocacy, education, support, and they also wanted to fund research.
The Breast Cancer Coalition was important to me when I was first diagnosed because it was a place I could go to to meet women and talk to women that had already gone through treatment. So they were people I could rely on and ask personal questions.
Little by little, we began having programs, evening seminars. One program that developed accidentally was Breast Cancer 101. It was probably become the hallmark of the coalition is Breast Cancer 101 and then later Gynecologic Cancer 101.
I knew that this organization was going to grow and it was going to make a difference in this community. And the thing I loved about the organization is that it's local. And I knew that any money we raised was going to stay here locally. And that was just so important because so many of the organizations, they're national. And when you donate money, you have no idea if that's going to be used in your community. But with Breast Cancer Coalition, I knew it was staying here, and that was so important.
We hired an office staff person, a reception person. We outgrew our single room at 200 Park Avenue and moved up the road on University Avenue back in late 2002, where we stayed until about 5 years ago. We came here to the location where we are now at 1048 University Avenue.
This building that we're in now is just phenomenal.
Breast cancer is not going anywhere. Gynecologic cancers are not going anywhere. What we're learning about breast and gynecologic cancers is that these are very complex diseases where we used to think of them as plain vanilla. You have breast cancer. And that's what I thought when I was diagnosed, but we found out how the subtypes of breast cancer, ductal, lobular, estrogen receptor positive, progesterone receptor negative, triple negative, HER2 positive, inflammatory breast cancer, so many different kinds. Same thing with ovarian cancer, so many different subtypes. So we don't feel like there's ever going to be like a cure, at least not now. And so we want to continue to be here, to be present, to be available to those we serve, and we serve them with an open heart.
The Breast Cancer Coalition is grateful for the support of ESL Federal Credit Union.
We're proud to be a sponsor for the Breast Cancer Coalition's ARTrageous affair for the 19th year in a row. We've been with them since the beginning because of the care they deliver to people when they need it most.
Imagine being newly diagnosed with breast or ovarian cancer or any of the other gynecologic cancers, feeling overwhelmed and frightened. What you need is someone to walk you through every decision ahead. For many, introduction to the coalition comes from a caring diagnostic center or a committed surgeon. But for many others, it comes through a Google search.
On February 29th, 2008, I went to the Elizabeth Wendy Breast Center for a diagnostic mammogram that was requested because I had found what appeared to be a suspicious lump. In prior years, I had had a number of aspirations as I had dense tissue, and it was through the biopsy they conducted that day that I was diagnosed with stage 1 breast cancer. I consider myself a very fortunate woman to live in a community that has the Breast Cancer Coalition. The resources that they provide to individuals going through cancer treatment and their families are so broad and so wonderful and at no charge to people, so it doesn't discriminate. It was a no-brainer. I came to a brown bag one Friday and was hooked. I met whom I call my breast friends, despite the fact that my family and friends loved and supported me. I guess the good news was none of them had had breast cancer, and I found myself a member of a club I never intended to join, but a group of people who welcomed me, accepted me, and understood what the words "you have cancer" means. In the early days, when given the green light, started to take gentle yoga on Saturdays, which was wonderful. That was one of the first things I did. I was assigned a PAL early on, and later became a PAL myself, and have had the privilege over the course of the last 12 years of walking this journey with others who've had the unfortunate diagnosis. I think it's important for people within the Rochester community and surrounding towns to know what an invaluable source of support and resources the Breast Cancer Coalition is, both from the contributions they make financially for research and grants here in the Rochester community, for the support they provide one-on-one to individuals, for the educational programs they bring to survivors and individuals going through treatment, the support to families. I personally don't want to take for granted these resources, and I know they can't exist without the support, including financial, of people in our community.
So my initial diagnosis for breast cancer was at the age of 42. I was diagnosed on my second mammogram. It was an early diagnosis, and I was treated, and I had a very good outlook. 14 years later, I underwent bilateral mastectomy and was found to have stage 3C cancer. This was then followed up with chemotherapy and radiation. I learned about the Breast Cancer Coalition through a friend and colleague of mine, and I came to the Breast Cancer Coalition just to talk to somebody who had experienced what I was going through. Breast Cancer Coalition is important because it offers so many valuable resources. It offers a lot of courses that are really valuable. I did yoga for the first time ever, and I like it. I last year started participating in Voices and Vision. This is a writing class, and there are so many other valuable offerings, and something for everybody. It's a sisterhood, and I think this is a close thing, that you have a shared experience and you can build on this experience. One thing in my mind that sets the Breast Cancer Coalition apart from other cancer support groups, whatever the Breast Cancer Coalition does feeds directly into women with breast cancer, supports locally women with breast cancer and with gynecological cancers alike. The money stays here in the community, and the money makes an impact right here for women with breast and gynecological cancers. It is here, it is real, and it makes a difference in the life of local women with breast cancer and gynecologic cancer.
I'm of the age that they check me every year. So I hadn't expected anything any different. I went to go in, get smushed, and go home. But that didn't happen. They had found a small lump in my left breast. It was done outpatient. And my husband sat waiting for me throughout the whole procedure. So I consider myself very lucky that I was able to continue my life as I went through my treatments. I think I was probably almost a year out when a friend of mine said, okay, it's now time for you to come with me on Thursday. And that was my introduction to Breast Cancer Coalition. We welcome new women in. We support them with everything that they may need. We're like a family. We're like a bunch of cousins. I think that's the only way. They were the first people outside of my family that I told about my husband's death. But that's the crew that we are. The Coalition is a cool place. The Coalition is a place where you can be vulnerable. I'm an only child. And my mother was an only child. But on the other hand, my father had 13 brothers and sisters. My biological cousins that are still alive are old enough to be my parents. So I don't have any cousins. But here at the Breast Coalition, I've got my girl cousins. That's what the Breast Cancer Coalition means for me.
Those are just a few of the women who come to the Breast Cancer Coalition each year. There are hundreds more, each receiving essential services, free of charge. But the Breast Cancer Coalition can't do this without the generosity of our friends and neighbors like you. With your help in these unprecedented times, the Breast Cancer Coalition can continue to be there for women, men, and families in our region who count on them.
We became involved with BCCR about 14 years ago when one of our colleagues was diagnosed. She received tremendous support from those wonderful folks there, and so we've been pleased and proud to be involved ever since, and we hope that you will be as well.
We support the BCCR because a friend of ours had breast cancer, and we quickly realized that so many people are affected by breast cancer. The BCCR is truly a special part of our community.
I was introduced to the Breast Cancer Coalition many years ago from Millicent Bianchi, a breast cancer survivor and advocate. Very impressed with the mission and leadership of the coalition. Holly, Mel, Patty, and other board members spend a lot of time, and their dedication is unprecedented. I'm happy to support in any way that I can.
The Breast Cancer Coalition built its organization on 4 strong pillars: advocacy, support, education, and research. Advocacy has deep roots at BCCR.
It affects everyone.
It's learning and then knowing how to present your view to others.
It was just enlightening to see the power that a group of advocates could have. I first came to the coalition in 2005, having been diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer in 2003, so I'm now a 17-year survivor. I began taking one of the original yoga classes way back then and just fell in love with it. When my work schedule freed itself up about 7 years ago, I decided I needed to do more and be a little more active.
Initially, I was picturing like one-on-one counseling type advocacy, but quickly learned that was far from what it was all about.
So I had frequently seen newsletter articles about advocacy and their trips to Albany and what they did, and coming from a family who was always civic-minded, that just felt like the right fit for me.
I think that advocacy is important because people who are in the midst of treatment don't really have the time or energy to deal with these road bumps and roadblocks they run into. So I think it kind of leaves that job to us.
The way that we function here at the coalition as an advocacy committee is to establish relationships with all of our officials, whether they be local, state, or federal.
I think a lot of the most important work has happened at the state level. I think that's where we've seen the biggest impact on us being able to advocate for certain pieces of legislation or practices that are happening.
I have advocated with the coalition for passage of the Compassionate Care Act. That was the title of the act which legalized medical cannabis for certain conditions to be used to treat certain conditions in New York State. Until that was a successful legislation, many minds to be changed, which over time, with education and persistence, we were able to do.
We all may have political preferences or just think, gosh, it's terrible and I don't like any part of politics. But when you're dealing with something like breast cancer as well as other major illnesses, and you're meeting with different elected individuals, it really doesn't matter what party that individual belongs to. So the bottom line is cancer does not belong to a political party. It doesn't really matter. We're all working together to get the same goal, and we're really talking about what is the process to get from point A to point B.
Breast cancer kills now still about 40,000 people per year. So more work is needed to be done in research, in education, to try to find not only a cure, but a way to stop people from getting breast cancer anyway. And advocacy is one of the ways that we can bring those issues to the public's attention, to the government's attention, to industry that might be able to have an impact on curing cancer.
The Spirit Award is named for Harriet Susskind Rosenblum, a Breast Cancer Coalition founder, a poet, and a fearless advocate. Harriet never wavered in her commitment to eradicate breast cancer, hoping to free her daughters of the fear and uncertainty caused by a disease that she fought so fiercely. Her advocate spirit lives in all who had the privilege of knowing her prior to her passing in 2002. This year, the award goes to Deanna Dewberry, a 4-time cancer survivor and breast cancer advocate.
I first met Deanna Dewberry when she came to a research award ceremony. We had sent out a number of press releases to every media outlet we could think of, hoping to drum up a little bit of interest for our $50,000 grant. And in came Deanna Dewberry. We had never met. We didn't know who she was. She introduced herself, and there's been a relationship ever since.
Oh, and I covered it, put it on television, and then I said, I want to know them.
So after that research ceremony, Deanna began showing up for Brown Bag Friday, and she will tell you that she gets a whole lot out of the discussions with others that are going through breast or gynecologic cancer. She can relate to them. She is inquisitive, she's curious, she asks questions. She would tell you that she gets a lot out of it, but I can tell you that the participants at Brown Bag Friday get just as much, if not more, from her.
I really do feel an obligation. It is not just a motivation. I really do believe that when God brings you through 4 cancer battles, and you are still here, and you are healthy, and you're able to work, and you're able to have a family, what a gift. Well, you must give back.
The Breast Cancer Coalition nominated Deanna Dewberry for the Advocate Spirit Award because of the in-depth reporting that she does, because she's curious, because she cares about the people that she's interviewing, because she makes a difference. She delves into those stories like this is something very near and dear to her, and that's because it is.
She was completely open, and she let those of us who have been there and those of us who may be there someday know what the journey really is like, and that there is a path through it, and that you will make it through it and be stronger on the end. And that's an advocate spirit, in my opinion.
I will never say that I'm grateful for having had cancer, but boy, am I grateful for what cancer has taught me. It's taught me so much about why we live. We live to give. That's the reason why we're here. And so what a privilege to be able to give back through the Breast Cancer Coalition of Rochester, through the stories I tell, through Deanna's discoveries, through my volunteer work with so many different organizations, through my speaking engagements at churches. I mean, when I got the letter from Holly, I started crying in my living room. I'm so flattered, because being an advocate is so much more to me than something I do. I hope it's who I am. As I said, surviving cancer is such a gift, and to have the gift of being able to give back, to advocate for others who are in the struggle, and then to be thanked for it, it really moves me.
You can help ensure that funding continues for programs like Advocacy. Give now by calling 585-473-8177. Volunteers are ready to take your call. You can also text to give or simply visit bccr.org.
Holly Anderson and her team have worked diligently to bring us the support we need in our community. When bidding, bid high.
The Breast Cancer Coalition is grateful for the support of the Shiano Law Office.
Now, let's help fund another of the 4 pillars: education. Anyone who has ever heard the devastating words, "You have cancer," can rest assured the Breast Cancer Coalition is there to help women and men cope with the myriad of decisions that follow in the days, weeks, even months after their diagnosis. Following that first call to the Breast Cancer Coalition, people are introduced to educational programs that help them get through it. Programs for those just beginning treatment, as well as for those whose treatment has ended. Evening seminars held monthly with topics that range from treating the disease to healing the spirit, targeted therapies to manage legal and employment issues, coping with long-term effects of chemotherapy to healing through nutrition, exercise, and complementary therapies, and always presented by the experts themselves, the best care providers our community has to offer.
Education is empowering.
We are really offering the what's next.
Education in general is critically important because knowledge is power.
I worked in the cancer center as an oncology social worker from 1988 to 2016. And when I first started in the cancer center, we were developing the programs ourselves to support the patients. 14 years of that, I worked in the ICU and then came back to the breast cancer clinic. And when I came back to the clinic and found that Holly and her crew had developed the Breast Cancer Coalition, it was such a godsend for me.
In our mission statement, we talk about empowering people to make informed decisions. I think the education that we offer isn't a matter of feeding people facts. The education that we offer is a way to provide people with a wide variety of information that will spark their questions, enable them to look for the information that pertains to them.
What I love about the Breast Cancer Coalition of Rochester is that it spans the gamut of what the word education means. And there's school education, and what I love, practical education. What is useful for me in this moment in time? And they just interweave all these opportunities for people to learn from the beginning, even pre-diagnosis.
Someone who's facing a recent diagnosis needs to have good information in order to be a full participant in their medical care. But those who are months or even years down the road can have long-term effects, physical and emotional, of their cancer treatment. Cancer care is always evolving, always changing, and new information comes to light all the time. We at the Coalition strive to ensure that our educational programs address the needs of everyone affected by breast and gynecologic cancers.
I hope that the education we provide enables them to speak more knowledgeably with their care team and make the informed decisions that they need to make.
And what they get here is the connection, the validation, the connection with each other, where they can educate each other about the things that they're doing to take care of themselves and to cope with any gaps in care that they don't know what to do with.
I learn constantly from them, and I'm grateful, and if I can teach others some things too, that's good for me. But I just love the people. A sense of humor is so important through this as well. And the community spirit and energy, which I miss these days with the pandemic, it's in this room. I still feel it right now. And it's fantastic here at the Breast Cancer Coalition of Rochester.
In 2003, we lost our mother from breast cancer, and the Breast Cancer Coalition was a huge support for myself and my family during this time, and has been through all these years. That's why our family-owned business supports the Breast Cancer Coalition of Rochester.
As a genetic counselor, I begin the journey with newly diagnosed patients. I'm setting the stage with science and data and how they got to a diagnosis. BCCR comes alongside the patient and helps them complete that journey with care and compassion and empathy and humanity.
I was diagnosed actually 5 years ago next month, and I am ER positive, HER2 negative, and I started out with surgery in January of 2016. Originally, when I went to the surgeon, I was given a lot of paper information, and in there was a document about the coalition, and I actually didn't get here until a few days before surgery. I wish it had been sooner, but I came in on the last day of the year in 2015, and I sat down and had a nice chat with Holly and was much relieved by the support and the understanding that she was able to offer. It was definitely a period in my life where I felt like a deer in the headlights. I was very scared. I didn't have a lot of support here in town. I don't have any family in town. And to know that this organization was available was just phenomenal. And I've been participating in many of the programs here for the last 5 years, and I love this organization. It's very near and dear to my heart. Women, men too, but women can come and talk about their concerns, about their treatments, about their diagnosis, and not have to explain to anybody else what it feels like. And I'm so grateful that we live in an area where women some 20 years ago realized there was such a need, but it makes a huge difference. I am so grateful for the coalition. I love it here.
We were actually involved with the Breast Cancer Coalition before I was diagnosed. Tom had done some volunteer work for the BCCR. And so when I went for a very routine mammogram and they found something suspicious, as soon as my diagnosis was confirmed, the first call we made was to Holly at the BCCR. We came to the BCCR and we met with Holly, who was incredibly informative and genuine, and I didn't even know what questions to ask. We didn't know.
Right.
We didn't know what we were coming into. So many different things, the decisions you have to make. So
Holly was able to center us and educate us, and we're very thankful for that.
over the years, I've been a PAL. I've mentored other breast cancer survivors, gone to Brown Bag, gone to a number of I couldn't even tell you the number of evening seminars. Currently, I have a mentor who's kind of helping me through this. I think what I love about the BCCR is the variety of programs that they have. So the things like Common Ground, when I used to be able to go to the Brown Bag lunches, it was a chance to talk to other people who know exactly how you feel. You need to go through Breast Cancer 101. I think that's the very first thing, just the education that provides, giving people the knowledge. There is no way to navigate those doctors and those appointments and all the information without having some background information.
All the donations stay in the area, all the programs are free, and I sometimes worry that people think it's a aftercare support group, and there is that element, obviously with the various programs, but it's the entire journey. They can shepherd you through the entire journey.
So I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer actually over the pandemic. I found out when I came home from a vacation in March, and I had a lot of pain in my abdomen. Went to the doctor and I insisted on an ultrasound. And lo and behold, with the ultrasound, they did find a mass. Once they did a full pathology, they found out that it was stage 1 ovarian cancer, a rare form of ovarian cancer. And after 3 rounds of chemo, I was cancer-free. It's a great tool here at BCCR. Just look at their website. You can figure out what to do when you get a diagnosis. It walks you through the steps. It kind of helps you determine how to proceed. You meet so many people here at Breast Cancer Coalition of Rochester, and I'm so glad that I'm involved because it gives the survivors and even people who have just been diagnosed some form of camaraderie. You can meet with people, you can support them, and even after you're cancer-free, you can come and support the coalition and really give advice and strength to those people who are going through it now. You can attend a ton of virtual classes right here at BCCR. And the virtual classes really allow you to kind of get a taste of what goes on here. We need to get the word out more. We need to get more support groups going. We need more support from the community too, especially for financial reasons. That really helps us move along. Support Breast Cancer Coalition of Rochester. These smaller charities really drive a lot of support among survivors and people who have been diagnosed with cancer. They need your support now. They need your dollars.
I was diagnosed with breast cancer in May of 2018. I elected to do a mastectomy and a reconstruction. And about 2 weeks before my scheduled surgery, I met a new friend who was also newly diagnosed, and she was actually, she just had her surgery. She was in the hospital. I'm a nurse at Highland Hospital, and I was taking care of her. And she had a beautiful quilt on her lap that I commented on, and she told me very passionately about the Breast Cancer Coalition.
I was diagnosed in March of 2019. I met Karen. I remember you reached out to me and we met at Panera. I walked away from that having so much information about what to expect with my upcoming surgery. I can see what a great benefit having you as my mentor was to me.
So the mentoring is super helpful on the receiving end.
Yes.
For practical tips and education and just kind of coming up to speed on what to expect. But I also think that the mentoring provides emotional strength too. Mentoring is also hugely important on the giving end because it definitely gives me purpose in my own experience. To be able to share with someone else, it just really gives purpose to something as ugly and nasty as cancer.
Join the Coalition family of supporters by calling 585-473-8177. You can also text to give or go directly to their website at bccr.org. No gift is too small. It's how this empowering organization continues to grow. When you support the Breast Cancer Coalition, your dollars stay right here in our region.
I came to BCCR when I was diagnosed with breast cancer to gain access for information to make the best decision for me for that point in time. I give back to BCCR for what they gave to me, and I wish you would too, because BCCR is the best thing about cancer.
Thanks to Holly Anderson and the BCCR for being amazing supports for many of our breast cancer patients. I can't imagine that our patients would make it through some of the difficult times that they experience without the resources that BCCR provides. Thanks so much.
The Breast Cancer Coalition is grateful for the support of the William and Sheila Konar Foundation.
Each year, the Breast Cancer Coalition awards 2 grants to researchers at area institutions that include the University of Rochester's Wilmot Cancer Institute, Roswell Park Cancer Institute, Cornell University, and Upstate Medical in Syracuse. As research funding becomes more and more competitive, the Breast Cancer Coalition makes funding breast cancer research an imperative.
They're really critical.
It was really a no-brainer.
We're providing something that they were not getting in their cancer care.
Every city has something to give, but few cities have the jewel that is the Breast Cancer Coalition of Rochester. I was sitting at my desk, I'd been here about 2 weeks, and I got a press release from BCCR, and I read it and went, wow, I want to know them. And so then I covered the story, which was these extraordinary grants given to local researchers who are doing research that's out of the box, really interesting stuff.
I got involved with the coalition because I was one of the early winners of an award back in 2007. And that really just started me being more and more connected with the coalition, and specifically with the review panel of the applications that come in for the research.
The BCCR Research Grant Fund program began in 2003, and since then they have awarded almost $1 million in research grants.
So the process that's used by Breast Cancer Coalition of Rochester is a little unique because it uses both scientists who have expertise in the area, but it also uses breast cancer survivor advocates. So you can evaluate both the scientific merit of each proposal, but you also get the viewpoint of the survivor advocate, and that is what's going to be the impact of this proposal, and that's really important.
So I learned about the research grants from the coalition through the Wilmot Cancer Institute. We have a very close relationship with Rochester in general. It was really a no-brainer to try and apply for this support.
The grants are awarded regionally. Western New York, Rochester U of R, Cornell University, upstate New York. And I can speak, because I'm from Western New York, that we believe there is a higher incidence of breast cancer in our area, and there very well could be throughout the rest of the state, as opposed to the rest of the country. So for the money to be going regionally is very important.
To have the support locally and to have the backing of people here in Rochester really means a difference for us doing research here. It's not just that they're there to support our research, they're really interested in our research, and that really again gets me excited about the research, and it kind of works both ways. And so those sort of interactions have been really great.
And I believe that no matter if there are several organizations, 1, 2, or 10, and you're all in it for the same reason, why not work together? Just like COVID, across the country, we should be working together. We're all in it together.
Funding regional research is a priority for the Breast Cancer Coalition, and you enhance their impact through a tax-deductible donation. Help ensure that funding continues for programs like the Coalition's Breast Cancer Research Initiative. Call 585-473-8177, where volunteers are ready to assist, or you can text to give and donate at bccr.org.
Approximately 5 years ago, a family member of ours was diagnosed with breast cancer, and we were introduced to the BCCR. They supported us, and we hope that you'll support them.
We couldn't be more excited to be part of an event like this tonight. Breast Cancer Coalition for us has always been an important partner in helping heal what medicine cannot. Thank you for all that you do to bring our patients, our friends, our loved ones, and all those that are dealing with breast cancer back to the new normal that they deserve. For that, we thank you for all that you do.
As a breast cancer surgeon, I provide my patients with a lot of information. This can be very overwhelming. I want to thank the BCCR for giving our patients a safe place to explore their options and to feel empowered to make a confident surgical decision.
Support, the fourth pillar at the Breast Cancer Coalition, takes a variety of forms. Programs like support and networking groups, including Brown Bag Friday, Peer Advocates Lending Support, or PALS, Lymphedema Networking Group, Young Survivor Gatherings, Parents of Adult Children with Cancer, networking for our LGBTQ survivors, support for those living with metastatic breast and gynecologic cancers, Partners and Caregivers Group.
It's an unconditional kind of place, and it's not much more healing than that.
Kathy Simpson first came to the Breast Cancer Coalition to be a healer, leading writing workshops. But that changed when Kathy was diagnosed with breast cancer 6 years ago.
It felt awkward at first, but it was so touching, heart-touching, for the people that I had met through the coalition in my facilitator role, reaching out to me, supporting me, kindnesses galore. The majority of the women who come here find that room to be their place. It is the place where they are going to get their needs met, the place that feels safe, that no matter what they say, they're going to be accepted.
Safety through yoga and meditation. Safe to share experiences over brown bag lunches. It is more than a room. This is the heart of BCCR.
It just feels so good to be here. It's an opportunity to stand with and walk with our friends here who are going through a really hard and scary time. It's hard for us to witness it, but it's also a gift. We learn ways to empower each other, and learning how to ask for and receive support is huge.
I've practiced in New York City, in Houston, large cancer hospitals. There is nothing like the Breast Cancer Coalition of Rochester.
Dr. Howard Langstein is an expert in breast reconstruction at the University of Rochester. He's discovered his patients do infinitely better when they receive support at BCCR.
It makes my job a lot easier and more fun, actually, because I know that when we have patients who are having second thoughts about whether they should have reconstruction or perhaps just having some sort of a challenge related to breast cancer, I know I can send them to Breast Cancer Coalition of Rochester and feel assured that they're going to get the very best support.
I choke up when I think about it, because just having someone stand beside you, sit beside you, don't have to say a word. You're not alone. It somehow lifts the burden. It makes it bearable.
I was originally diagnosed with breast cancer in 2002. For me, it was 11 years later when I got the big diagnosis of you have metastatic breast cancer.
Metastatic is typically, if I'm allowed to be morbid for a moment, it's a life sentence.
When I first was diagnosed, they would say, you're so strong, you're courageous, you're a warrior. I didn't feel that way.
I don't think of myself as courageous at all. I just think of putting one foot in front of the other.
This is something that can and probably will take your life.
I'm just another lady trying to fight a nasty monster.
At the coalition, we let our hair down. Those of us that have hair let our hair down and really get into the nitty-gritty of what do you do to cope?
All of us sitting in that room know we're metastatic, but we want to live as long as we can.
I think about living a lot. I think about dying a lot. So I do appreciate having the ladies there to share those feelings with.
Unless you've been there, and that's why our group is called Common Ground. It's what we have in common. There's no one else among my friends, my relatives, my family that really quite understands the way the group does.
Unfortunately, being part of that group, we've lost people along the way.
But it's not a sad group. It's encouragement, it's empowerment. We learn and we grow.
I just can't say enough about the coalition. They helped me emotionally in real ways for my life.
Without the resources that they provide and the gatherings and the information, without that, we don't have hope.
We really want people to focus on metastatic disease and say, hello, hi, we're here. That, I have stage 4 cancer, I'm not dead yet.
This is something you're going to live with the rest of your life, but the key is living with it.
Please help ensure that the Breast Cancer Coalition continues its support services and networking groups, which are its hallmark. None of it possible without the people dedicated to this cause.
The Breast Cancer Coalition is grateful for the support of our bronze sponsors.
Each year, the Breast Cancer Coalition presents the Heart and Hands Award, named for Lori Pask, an early member of the Coalition's Common Ground Living with Metastatic Disease group, a kind and caring wife, sister, daughter, niece, and friend. Lori also made her mark as a registered nurse and breast cancer advocate. She graciously used her personal experience to become a pal's mentor to others who followed. The Heart and Hands Award recipient is a care provider whose work best exemplifies the balance of kindness, compassion, respect, and science that Lori demonstrated while providing care to her own patients. This award allows Lori's spirit of passion, hope, and joy to live on in all of us. This year, the recipient of this award is Dr. Joel Yellen, a breast surgeon at Rochester Regional Health.
I nominated Dr. Yellen for the Breast Cancer Coalition's Heart and Hands Award because he's more than just a skilled surgeon. He's a teacher. He told me what I needed to know, but he also taught me a lot about things that had changed in the 20 years between my first cancer experience and my second.
He was very kind, compassionate, very caring. He explained things very detailed to me.
We landed at Dr. Yellen's because of numerous recommendations by such a variety of people, whether they were technicians, people that had Dr. Yellen as a doctor.
When I trained, there was really only one operation, and it was a pretty devastating operation. I finished my training and I knew how to do a radical mastectomy or a modified radical mastectomy. There wasn't a lot of variation and there wasn't a long conversation with the patient about what their options were. That's multiplied dramatically. There were so many more options, and there's a certain individual patient relationship that comes out of figuring out for each patient what treatment is best for her.
He looked you in the eye and he shook hands, but to me it's very endearing. He held my hand and her hand with both of his and held it for not just like, oh, nice to meet you, have a seat, and we'll talk. It was like, I'm really here because I care. I want to hear what you have to say.
You can feel his passion when he talks to you.
He gave time that he could have spent in other ways.
He came to her calling hours. He came to the funeral service. Amy had kept a blog, and she wanted to put it together as a book to raise funds for Mediviver and the Breast Cancer Coalition. Dr. Yellen, she had wanted to write the foreword for the book, and he did. He's such an amazing human being and professional and friend and caregiver. He just encompasses everything that I would hope for anyone needing medical treatment would have that sort of relationship with their doctor.
And he really wants to make a difference. And he does.
It's really a huge comfort to see him and have his reassurance that things are looking okay and that we'll both see each other again next visit.
Very famous surgeon was asked why he kept working after a certain quote-unquote retirement age. And his comment was, "You've been trained, if you can keep doing it, you have an obligation to keep doing it." So I hope I can keep doing it.
The Breast Cancer Coalition is grateful for the support of our pink sponsors.
We hope you join in supporting survivors in our community. You can do this by taking part in the silent auction. Go to ARTrageous2020.givesmart.com. There are more than 200 items, including gift cards, gift baskets, trips, pottery, jewelry, sculptures, wall art, and more. Also, please consider a donation to the coalition through its Warrior Wall. Gifts of $250 and up enable you to join the wall, recognizing your generous support. Warrior Wall donations mean that members of our survivor community can access programs such as the Common Ground Support Group for those living with metastatic disease, healing arts programs, and the annual Advanced Breast Cancer Seminar, just to name a few. Your gift allows these programs to be offered at no cost at all to all who need them. To make a gift, call 585-473-8177. You can also text to give or visit bccr.org. The Breast Cancer Coalition benefits from a generous art community. And tonight we offer our deepest gratitude to them. Without our artists and their generous contributions, there wouldn't be an ARTrageous affair. Again, to see their items, visit our auction site at ARTrageous2020.givesmart.com. And the Coalition offers its sincere gratitude to the ARTrageous Affair Volunteer Committee. Thank you for all your hard work and making this evening possible. On behalf of everyone here at the Breast Cancer Coalition, we want to thank you for your continued support, especially through these challenging times. And we look forward to being together next year for our ARTrageous Affair.